Much to the chagrin of the Doomsdayers, Social Security is not going to go bankrupt, my friends. It's just not. We need to stop this. Use Social Security, your PIA, and your retirement plan. Of course, we'll have to do another video on how to make sure you're using it correctly because a lot of people don't. But anyway, let's dive into this. Adam Shapiro writes in Yahoo Finance from about a week ago. Social Security is not going bankrupt, according to retirement experts. Experts. Who are these experts? Social Security provides income to 71 million Americans, but a poll last November of people under the age of 60 found that 70% believe the retirement program is going bust. Let me just stop right there. I wish to say, what does that mean? Because frankly, insolvent does mean bankrupt. It means it doesn't have enough income to pay its debts. That is true. But a lot of people think that means it has no money at all. No, it just means it can only pay 77 cents on the dollar of obligations. That's what that means. It doesn't mean they won't pay anything. It just means as we're sitting here today, look, I don't think anyone would argue that Social Security can pay 100% of its obligations as we sit here right now, 15 years from now. That no one, well, I mean, it could. If you look at the different structure of the Social Security trustees report, you have the low, the medium, and the high. And the median is 25 to 75% likelihood. The low is the first 25%, and the high is the last 25%. So basically, the intermediate actually is what it is, the intermediate. So you got the low, the intermediate, and the high. And the low and the high all look at inflation, interest rates, jobs, unemployment, all that. I'm not getting that here today, but I've done that before. Anyway, the intermediate is where it says, as we sit here today, it will have enough resources to pay 77 cents on the dollar come 2035. That's literally bankruptcy. There's no other way around that. Doesn't have enough cash flow to pay off his debt. However, it's a whole lot different saying Social Security won't pay out money. So let's keep reading here. I want to be clear there. What's going on? 1 second. Here's Mary Beth Franklin. Social Security is not going bankrupt. There are long-term financing problems that we can deal with, she said. She told the Bipartisan Policy Center. Oh, gosh. In a webinar called Social Security Myths vs. Facts. Mary Beth Franklin is on YouTube all over the place. I think, what's her name? What's the lady's name? I can't remember. She did an interview with her, and she's good. She's good. Not great, but she's good. Workers pay 6.2% of their income up to $142,000 to fund Social Security, and their employers match it. I pay both sides 12.4%. For the last 40 years, the program has intentionally collected more than it needed, depositing the excess into trust funds to help fund the retirement of millions of baby boomers. Over the next few years, those trust funds are expected to run dry. At that point, there'll still be enough of ongoing payroll taxes to pay about 75 to 80% of promised benefits. Exactly. Social Security Administration said changing demographics are part of the problem. In the 1940, the life expectancy of 65-year-old was almost 14 years. Today it is over 20 years. So you have an extra 6 years. That's almost 40% longer than what it was in 1940. By 2035, the number of Americans 65 and older will increase from approximately 56 million today to 78 million then. And the U.S. population ages, the number of working Americans supporting retirees will decrease. There are currently about 2.8 workers for each beneficiary. By 2035, there'll be 2.3 covered workers for each beneficiary. All right. And then the chief economist of the BPC, I can't stand the BPC, is just literally a cabal of swamp dwellers, for sure. You know, the moderates, the John McCain's of the world, the Max Baucuses of the world. Oh, gosh, the swamp things. But I don't trust them as far as I could kick them. No one wants to live with a 25% pay cut in their Social Security benefits, says the chief economist of the BPC. He warns benefits will have to be reduced if Congress doesn't fix, and we have to rely solely on payroll tax revenue coming in. All right, so let's, again, for the love of the good Lord, they say, yes, there used to be 16 workers for every beneficiary. Now it's going to be 2.3, and they always overlook the fact you used to pay 1% of your taxes, and now it's 6.2. Let me just show what I'm talking about. From the Social Security itself, historical Social Security tax rates, your maximum taxable earnings in 1937 was only, that was $3,000. So if you made more than $3,000, you paid nothing into it, and your maximum OASDI was 2%. That's it. So it increased by over 300%. Remember, there's no hospital insurance tax. That's Medicare. So OASDI was 2% on a maximum earnings of $3,000. That was it. So hold on just a second. So $3,000 is the equivalent today of about $58,000. So $3,000 in 1935. All right, this is what our Social Security was. The maximum taxable earnings in 1937, actually, but it doesn't matter. Is the equivalent of about $60,000, $55,000 to $60,000 today. That is the maximum taxable earnings for Social Security today, relative to what it was in 1937. So again, in 1937, the maximum taxable earnings was only $3,000. Now it's $142,000. That would be the equivalent $3,000 in 1937 of, we'll just say $55,000 today, or $60,000. It doesn't matter. And you only pay 2%. So now your maximum taxable earnings are 2.5 times that, and you pay over 300% over that. Does that make sense? Because you're paying 6.2%. You only pay 2% there. So even though we have this many workers back then compared to this many beneficiaries, and now it's going like this, the taxes have gone significantly higher. It's weird how no one talks about that. All right. Franklin said Congress can fix the problem as it did 40 years ago. If you look back, they did a combination of things. They gradually increased the full retirement age, which they will, and they're going to have to, man. People are living long. It's just that simple. Let's see. They gradually increased to 70, which they should, and they're talking for today's 2 years old. 100%, man. They'll get used to it. I completely agree with that. They could prevent the pending trust fund shortfall if they raised or eliminated the $142,000 payroll tax income cap. Again, if I don't have any problem with that. Hold on a second. I don't have any problem increasing the payroll tax. Get rid of the caps, but you can't get rid of the, well, I mean, they can do whatever you want. You can't get rid of the caps, though, and say, we're going to tax you 6.2% and your employer 12.4% or 12.4% on all of your income, but you're only going to get a maximum benefit. And remember, FDR did not want that. He did not want that at all. He said, no, we've got to have everyone have skin in the game. Hold on just a second. My wife is texting me. You get rid of the tax, the caps, and you say we're going to have a maximum, which is going to happen. I'm just telling you right now, it's going to happen. If you get rid of the caps and you have a maximum benefit, then it becomes a transfer payment, a welfare payment. That's not good. It's an entitlement. You put money in, you get money out. If you say, well, Josh, you made $300,000 say, but you're going to have a maximum benefit of $3,200, essentially what's happening is I'm taking my taxes 12.4% and I'm giving it to someone who made less, and that's not fair. But that's coming. Just be advised. So let's keep reading here. All right, so that's it. All right, if we had got rid of the caps, let's see, if we had done that 10 years ago, it would have put Social Security back on a 75-year solvency. Okay. But doing that now, getting rid of the cap, would help but fall short. This is a cost of delay. Imagine if we had another 10 years, the point of trust fund depletion before Congress decides to act. All right, but that's not that, I don't see that much. Let's see what some of the comments are here. In 2020, the government paid out almost as much as welfare as Social Security benefits. All right. The government owes the Social Security, all right, whatever. So much is okay to increase the national debt by trillions to pay out stimulus. Okay, it's actually interesting. I did read what Martin Luther King say, which I thought was pretty interesting. I just listened to Kwame Brown interview. What's this guy's name? Craig Hodges. Pretty interesting. So we paid $350,000 to kill one Vietnamese communist soldier, and yet each I don't know what they give like $350 to essentially support poor people in America in the 1960s. That's a good way to put it. This is where war is just so stupid, man. You're saying, okay, we're going to spend all this money on war. We're going to spend all this money on overseas diplomacy. We're going to spend all this money on overseas. We're going to give all this money to countries and units and stuff like that. And yet we're not going to turn around and fund our own people. It's nuts, man. And I don't want the government funding people. That's bad. Trust me. I mean, it's just, we don't want the government giving away money. That's bad. But just goes to show you, it's like, wait a second. So our Social Security Trust Fund doesn't have enough to pay 100% of its benefits. But we're going to keep funding overseas entities with foreign aid. We're going to keep fighting, all this stupid stuff overseas. And yet the Social Security Trust Fund doesn't have enough. That doesn't make any sense, which is why ultimately I'm not worried about it. I'm just not. I do think it's going to be a shame. It's coming that they're going to get rid of the cap and they're going to maximize their benefit. Because it's just, I mean, look, man, at the end of the day, it's the middle class who decides elections. The middle class has the votes. And if they say, look, I'm only making $80,000 a year, my household income, that guy makes $200,000, he can afford a tax. I can't. Like, that's the way it's coming. So just be prepared, man, because it's going to come like that. But again, Social Security is not going broke. You're going to have your benefit. It's just that simple. All right, love to hear your thoughts. We'll see you.